This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1748, Comic Talk.
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek, uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Ian Levinstein.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Chris Everly.
We're back.
We are back.
Again. Hello.
Minstrel Shane.
Been a while, but we're back in style.
Comrades in arms, brethren.
I gotta go back to school again. Whoa, I gotta go.
I am indeed. Although when I think of that phrase, I think of the classic Rodney Dangerfield film Back to School, which is a very different type of song. But,
yes, it is.
Hey, honey, I'd like to tame your shrew. Anyway.
Terry Farrell. First time I ever saw her in anything.
That's right.
Oh, boy.
All right, how we all doing?
Pretty good.
Oakley dokley.
Good to be back in action.
It is indeed. I want to take this opportunity to, first of all, thank Murd for once again hosting the CGS Summer Retreat in beautiful Stone Harbor.
The pleasure and the honor was mine, Chris.
Murd, let me tell you, once again, I had a delightful stay. Everything was perfect. The food, the fellowship, the ocean, the weather, magnificent. Thank you.
Well, the weather was very nice, though the wind was a little too strong. So, Chris was leaping around in the waves like a native-born Atlantean. He was just whooping with joy, and it did my heart good to see. And then on Sunday morning, a couple of us, much of the weekend was spent in playing the DC Deck Builder card game at Pant's insistence, because he only gets to play it once a year, and he wasn't missing his chance, so Danny and Bill and I all indulged him there. But then on Sunday morning, Chris and I went out to the front porch for the annual Jamie D. Memorial comic book read.
Yes.
Yep.
Nicely done.
I had set aside a copy of the classic 80s Marvel reprint series Classic X-Men, issue number 2, reprinting Uncanny X-Men number 94. You know, the first appearance of the all-new, all-different X-Men after Giant Size X-Men number 1.
Good choice.
So that was my grist for that morning. And Shane, Chris, you had a small pile of Marvels also.
Yes, and let me make a comment here, Murd, because that session, which, by the way, was very special for me, to sit by your side on the porch reading comics was a thrill on that beautiful Sunday morning. But I gained an insight into why you are who you are. Because, I had like a recent issue of Doctor Strange, a couple Avengers, a Batman. So I read 4 or 5 books in that sitting. When I was done, Murd was still reading that X-Men book. Now, that's not an insult, because he was taking such time to pour through that classic issue, which is it's a pitch-perfect example of why he has that analytical mastery of what he reads. I was in awe of that, Murd.
Well, I thank you, Chris. I do like to say what I read, but to mitigate your praise a bit, it was a Claremont issue, so lot to digest.
Murd, I love how you can never fully accept any praise. Fantastic.
How many sentences did it take him to describe Storm's coat?
34.
I think that was pages 5 through 8.
You know what? Because I'll talk a little bit later about the Marvel's epilogue, which is based on a Claremont story. But I look back on those issues very fondly, those X-Men stories that he did, especially that stuff in the Bronze Age. So, but definitely a style you don't see much anymore.
I'm almost up, since I do mention this podcast occasionally. Now I'm just started the 90s, and Jay and Miles explained the X-Men, so I'm almost out of the official Claremont era. So it's very, very interesting to see the changes. The last one I listened to, they discussed the Asian transformation of Psylocke.
Ah, yes.
Somewhat timely, since Psylocke is undergoing yet another change of role in the Marvel Universe in the near future.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Yep.
I think, gentlemen, we should start off by discussing the little class trip we took
Sure.
at the beginning of August. So myself, Shane, Murd, and Pants convened at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia at the beginning of the month, and we took in the Marvel exhibit. And I'll start by saying every expectation I had was exceeded.
Excellent.
Tenfold.
Yeah, this was. I almost wept with joy by the time I finished going through that exhibit, because the love and care and the appreciation for history and detail that went into that exhibit was true. I should say is, because it's running till September 11th, is truly breathtaking. So, if you're a Marvel fan, or just a fan of comics and pop culture, you got it. If you live it's with any kind of reasonable distance for you, you still got till September 11th. Go to this exhibit.
Yeah.
You will not be disappointed.
We spent almost 3 hours in there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's not like it's vast, but there's just so much to take in. What they did, what they had, and first of all, the Doctor Strange exhibit just took the house down. That was my highlight.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Trippy light effects. It was like a Haight-Ashbury happening in there.
I love that reference. The mirrors they had, and just it was like you were a psychonaut when you went into that chamber. It was
That was really something.
yeah.
I love that.
I did
But
I did a video game exhibit at the Franklin Institute. I think that may have been the 2 exhibits before the Marvel one. That was so intensive, and they had so many different video games on display that I can only imagine what the Marvel one looks like in comparison.
Well, Ian, if you can, try to get out there before it leaves.
I'm gonna do my best.
Spectacular.
Yep, I'm gonna do my best. Even if I have to just hop on a train and do like a day trip on a Tuesday or something like that, I may try to make it happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It'll be worth it to you. What I really appreciated just right off the bat was they took a lot of they devoted a lot of space in terms of visuals and copy to the creators.
Oh yeah.
There's a real emphasis on the bullpen, a lot of candid photos, anecdotes. I mean, they really, the people who I don't know who it was, but the people who set this exhibit up, either they really knew their stuff or they took the time to really learn all the history and the background material, and the way they broke up, into the different eras, the different types of characters. Like there's one exhibit for like the Marvel Street characters, so to speak. Then you had like the cosmic stuff. Like it's sensational. It's absolutely sensational.
It was so well integrated in the history of Marvel and the comics, infused with all the movies and TV aspect of it as well.
That's
it was blended with every exhibit. Came a beautiful mash of both the comics and the multimedia. It was fantastic.
And that's a excellent point, because they didn't like isolate the MCU, the TV world. They brought it all in, integrated all of it, as you said.
Yeah.
And they kept reminding the patrons the impact of the comics on the other media. And then like I know Myrtle will smile when I recall that they refer to the Infinity Stones as gems.
Several times.
Yes, in this exhibit. They give you the whole, like they talked about. There's one great display where they had like all like the cosmic aspects of the Marvel universe. They explain all the different entities and their impact and their power levels. I mean, I was completely floored by this thing.
Yeah.
Did they have pages on display as well?
Oh God, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, some that you will never ever see again.
Wow.
Like this. Just absolutely mesmerizing artwork.
Pat should have worn a bib or a feed bag while he was going through this thing, because the art.
I said he probably did the first time he went through. So when he was there with us, it was his second time through.
That's true.
Now, he was so impressed by what he saw, though, he didn't want to spoil the museum exhibits for us by telling us what was going to be there.
Yeah.
But which is basically what we're doing for the listeners right now. But
yeah, that's true.
So some of the artwork was Golden Age yen. So
Oh, wow.
that's the level of collectability and historical import that was on display.
Well, and there's a surviving page of Marvel Comics #1.
Yep.
Yep. The
For
only
example.
surviving
God,
page.
Wow. Did they get these from the Smithsonian or from collectors?
From collectors.
Most of the pages were donated by just a couple people.
Okay.
You saw the same names donated over and over again. And again, very few people could afford this art, so it stands to reason it's just a handful of people actually could own it. But
Yeah.
and the artwork, and I won't spoil all the images that were there, but the artwork also, traversed the entire history of Marvel. Like they had pages from all the different eras, so they had a great cross section of all the various artists who've worked on the iconic characters. There's one like the Daredevil display explaining the impact of Frank Miller's work. I mean, it's exhaustive in its detail. I can't praise it enough.
Now, I started about halfway through the first. There's two halves to it, and about halfway through the first half, so the first quarter, I started taking pictures of all the artwork. Well, then I thought, well, heck, I got to go back to the beginning. So I walked all the way back to the beginning because once you leave the exhibit, you can't get back in.
Right.
So I went all the way back to the beginning and started snapping pictures all the way through for the entire rest of the time then. And I knew that there was a book to get, which I did get, and it's impressive. It has a lot of articles, some pictures of the display. However, I thought it would be geared more towards every item in the exhibit, an explanation, a little tagline, something. And it's not quite that extensive.
No, yeah.
So throughout my taking pictures on my phone, I took over 300 pictures. And at some point, I'm going to compile them into a book like I thought I would see. And either just have it digitally or print it out for certain folks, including myself or whatever. But I was glad I did that just because some of this stuff I will never, ever, ever get to see again in my entire life. Not like this, not up close.
Well, Shane, that's a splendid idea. I look forward to seeing that.
It was really something. Between all the movie props, and some of them were made up, like the Hall of Armor was just armor that they created. It's not like Robert Downey Jr. wore all these armors through the whole movies, but it was still impressive nonetheless. All there were places that you could take pictures with statues that were kind of life size.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun. It was really something.
And I remember commenting, I think, to Shane that, and this is where I see as one of the benefits of the cinematic universe. Who would have thought that Ant-Man and the Wasp would have a display in a museum?
Yeah.
So, and that was great to see too.
And specifically a display in the museum that was not about their marital problems.
Right. Nothing about the slap heard around the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And then you guys hit a baseball game afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Some of you did.
Yep. Me, Murd, and Pants.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the only one they won that weekend.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. And it was the Chicago White Sox, who are not exactly a powerhouse this season. But at least they won the one we were in attendance for. Bobby Abreu is being inducted into the Toyota Wall of Fame.
Yep.
So we got to witness that. And we found out that Marvel Night at Citizens Bank Park was going to be like a week and a half after we were there.
Figures.
So just missed it.
Yeah. Missed it by that much.
And I moseyed across town to the American Revolution Museum, and by an act of serendipity, my brother's family happened to be in the city at the same day, so I met up with them. And if you're interested in the American Revolution, this is a tremendous museum. It's only been open a short period of time.
Nice.
But it does an outstanding job of covering all the key elements of the war. So that's a great destination if you're interested in the history.
Yeah. I feel like I could visit Philadelphia 80 times and not have hit every single museum.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I unfortunately had to cancel my plans to go to this year's FlameCon, but I heard it that went swimmingly yet again. FlameCon is a convention that happens yearly, originally in Brooklyn and now in Manhattan, where it's basically the LGBTQ friendly convention for comic fans. And every single year, it is one of the friendliest, most inviting conventions you can possibly go to. When somebody bumps into you, they say, "I'm sorry."
Wow. Yeah.
Like that never happens at a convention.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
And that they held I think they hold it at a Marriott in the 40s or so in Manhattan. But like I said, was not able to attend this last year, this last one due to many multiple reasons that I won't get into. But glad that it seemed to have gone well for those that I did know that did attend. So hope to make it back next year. One of the nicest, friendliest, independent creator-friendly conventions you can possibly go to. And they have a decent-sized space with about 3 or 4 panel rooms. And they do one of my favorite panels they do yearly is basically an X-Men fashion show where they get a bunch of different artists to draw their reinterpretations of different X-Men characters' costumes.
That's a great idea because the X-Men have had so many iterations of their costumes for the various. I mean, Rogue alone, you could have a field day.
Yep.
Or Kitty Pryde is the best example, like her roller skate period. Oh, what a great concept!
Yeah. Yep. So didn't get to make it this year, but next year is already confirmed. So hope to make it there again next time.
Terrific.
Yep. Alrighty. So do we want to announce what our next book of the month is going to be?
Ian, that is
Sure.
your honor, sir. As is your selection.
Okay. As it's fallen on my favor this time, and I have chosen a heady tale from the tome of DC Comics, and from what I see in the archives, only the movie has ever been discussed. So we are going to discuss New Frontier.
Oh,
Darwin Cook's magnum opus.
Excellent.
Yep.
Ian, just when I thought you couldn't get sexier, because you've got that, got that voice, you've got that persona, but then you make a selection like this. I haven't read this book in quite a while. I've got a nice soft cover on my shelf. I'm really looking forward to reading this and discussing it.
Yeah, I own the Absolute Edition. Got it as a birthday gift many a year ago, and I am going to do my best not to salivate on the pages as I turn.
Oh, salivate. By the way, shall I propose that we should maybe just quickly talk about, maybe compare and contrast the animated film when we're discussing the book?
Sure. Yeah, we can talk on that a little bit because there's definitely some differences.
Because I haven't watched that in ages either. So.
Yeah, I haven't watched that in ages. I had mentioned I have never ever read New Frontier. I had a nice Absolute like what Ian has, and I sold that and bought a regular size. I was purging all of my extraneous large versions of things, mostly because of space and holding it on my lap.
I know
and
that's
got
a pet peeve of yours, Shane.
Oh, it really is. Now the absolutes I don't always mind because they are larger, but at least it's a civil size. Generally the spine doesn't break. I can even carry it in the car every now and then, but I ordered a nice normal size New Frontier hardback off of In Stock Trades, I think one time, and have that gracing my shelves so now I'll have a good reason to pick it up and read it.
Nice. Yeah.
And as extreme serendipity would have it, New Frontier has just bubbled up to the top of my decade-and-a-half-long reading backlog recently. I just telling the gentleman off mic a few minutes ago, I've just read issue number 5 this morning. So like Shane, I'm kind of coming to this fresh. That's where I am with my reading, and it's just it's unbelievably fortuitous that you would make this recommendation, Ian. You are a walking miracle, sir.
I had no idea. I know that recently they were advertising, I think, the 15th anniversary of New Frontier.
Oh my gosh!
And that's why it had come to my mind as something that may want to be discussed. And by pure coincidence, Murd's 15 years behind. So there we go.
Wow. I didn't realize that's why you read that, Murd. I should have known better.
Good times.
All right, so we'll stay tuned for that probably sometime in September.
Sounds good to me.
So I have to tell you all about a little field trip that I took. I was looking for something and totally stumbled upon something else. Last Sunday, I was sent out on an errand to try and find hangers, a specific kind of hangers for my kid's room, as we're getting back in the swing of school and hanging clothes up and all that good stuff.
No wire hangers.
No wire hangers. These are nice plastic ones.
Good.
But anyway, couldn't find them. So I went from the local Kmart, which is where we found this particular kind before, to an Ollie's. Now that's like a bargain basement kind of store, like a leftovers, overstock kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in thinking, well, maybe they'll have the hangers, which they didn't have. So I had no luck in hangers. However, going past the book section, which in this particular one in my town I live in is on the left-hand side, I go back and forth between the novels. I'm like, all right, nothing really grabbing me or spectacular. I get to like the third or fourth aisle, and I turn to my left, and there is an entire section of trade paperbacks and hardbacks.
Oh,
They must have bought out some store or some warehouse overstock, and I picked up quite a few things. Most of them ranged between $4 and $7
oh, nice.
for hardbacks too. Now, again, here I am in my own mind trying to purge and cut down on crap, and here I brought more crap home. But one of the things was the Daring New Adventures of Supergirl Volume 1 from the 80s. The cover price is $19.99. I paid $6.
Nice.
That's great.
Then I picked up a hardcover priced at $34.99, and I paid $7 for JSA The Golden Age.
Oh.
Which I have an old trade paperback, which I kind of knew, but I wasn't sure if I had that yet or if I had gotten rid of it in favor of just keeping the issues or whatever. But yeah, now I have this nice hardback of it.
That's
so
classic.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the
couldn't believe it.
Golden Age is one of my favorite stories, so that's great.
It's such a spectacular story. Then there was kind of two aisles of things. The trades and the paperbacks were all on one side. On the left-hand side were like the Chronicle books, the collections of information about comics and different things. There was a compendium of Doctor Who things. There was a couple Lego things, like I know Lego for their anniversary put out something called the Lego book that I had picked up at Costco months and months ago. That was very cheap at this place. But they also had a Lego DC Superheroes visual dictionary, which is $21.99, and I think I paid $9.99 for it maybe. And it has a Sinestro Corps mini Lego Batman figure in it. So that was kind of cool. Not that I needed that, but just the minifigure. No, it was $6 because the cost of a regular minifigure in the pack is $4. And I thought, well, heck, for $2 extra, I get a whole book. And then I saw something I've never heard of, I've never seen. It is a hardback book by Chartwell Books. Never heard of them before either. It is the 100 Greatest Moments of the Justice League.
Oh, wow.
It's fairly impressive. It divides up the 100 moments in an odd kind of way, but it does have some very neat little articles and little factoids all throughout it. They had a couple other things like this that were the 100 greatest, I think, DC comic moments. There was another history of DC Comics kind of book that was there, but I not like I need more of these kind of books. I got a ton of them, but because it was Justice League, I picked it up. It's got some really neat stuff in it. And that was maybe $10 or $12. So I had a little bit of an impressive showing for just stumbling onto something like this. It also looked like they bought a lot of Toys R Us's back stock when they closed up because there were tons of certain Toys R Us exclusives I saw throughout the whole store. But yeah, if anybody has an Ollie's near them, you might want to check it out. Might be some good trades or hardbacks in there to get at a good price.
Wow.
Now, Shane, when you brought this bounty home, did you have to justify anything to your family?
No, because I had texted Carlene. She knew I was going to go there and look for hangers. And I said, well, I haven't found hangers. However, there's a whole section of trade paperbacks and hardbacks. And I put in, this may not be good. And she replied back with like, oh gosh, eyes, and said with an LOL behind it. So that was fine. And again, I only brought home 4 things. It totaled $30. It's fairly impressive collection of stuff. Not much more that I would get, but it had a good variety of things to look at.
Well, moments like that are rare, and when you happen upon sort of that serendipity when it comes to consumerism, you got to be an American and go for it.
Yeah, yep.
So
Just a couple nice cheap things that are near and dear to my heart. So yeah, that was cool.
and you've got a Justice League book. You should.
Oh, I know. 100 Greatest Moments. And what sold it for me was they have a pretty good selection of old classic Silver Age moments. And it goes through some villains, but then again on, let's see, I think I just passed it. It's page 44, number 9. Now they go in ascending order, not descending order. Number 9, in the aftermath of JLA's deconstruction, a new team arose from the ashes in this book with a new title, new creative team, and new attitude. Under writers Keith Giffen and J.M. DeMatteis and penciler Kevin McGuire, fresh life was breathed into the grim and gritty heroes, Justice League number 1. And then it goes through a few pages. It talks about the One Punch, which is awesome. It talks about them becoming international. That kind of sold it for me. Just that alone, because they dedicated like 5 pages to number 9. But it's really good. It's got some great stuff in it.
Very cool.
Quick question, Shane.
Yeah.
Did you notice much Marvel in this display at Ollie's, or was it mostly DC?
No, there was a lot of Marvel. There was a good chunk of different Captain America things. There was some X-Men, some Avengers. I want to look around. I took a short video of everything so I could kind of look it up and see what everything encompasses, because some of it is sealed in plastic. The hardbacks are sealed in plastic. But I want to go through and kind of see what some of these stories entail and go back and maybe pick up another copy or two of something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'm glad they had a balanced display.
Oh, yeah. And there was even some independent stuff, too.
Great. Yeah, I'm wondering where they sourced all of this, because I saw an ad in one of their circulars. It's got to be about a year ago, where they were advertising, specifically DC material that they had picked up someplace.
Okay.
So they must have gotten a few extra carton loads of more diverse content in the months that have passed since then. I'm just glad that they're carrying comics of any kind, period.
Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of sounds a little bit like the artist formerly known as Hastings before they closed. A little bit of a discount store where you can get whatever trades or as cheap as they can find them and buy them that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not something I've stumbled on in many, many years. There was a book warehouse that opened up many years ago. Gosh, I don't even know if the kids were born yet. And they had a truckload of DC archives that I had gotten a hold of, a good chunk of them myself then, and have since gotten rid of a lot of them. But I haven't stumbled on something like that in a long time.
Speaking of Justice League, Shane, recently I tidied up my sort of basement office, added some more bookcases to better organize my comic library, my history library, and all this kind of stuff. And I have it as a place of honor as my Justice League International Omnibus, which I haven't. I've read some of those stories, but I've yet to sit down and read the whole omnibus, which I have to assign myself because I've never read all of those stories. So that's something I look forward to discussing with you down the road.
Oh yeah, not a big fan of omnibus, but I did order that one. It's still in the shrink wrap, but it's right on the shelf next to all the regular size trades and hardbacks of the same thing. So it's like the omnibus is my 5th or 6th iteration of them.
Feces on a saltine, my friend. Feces on a saltine.
Especially that era. God, you go into a convention or something, and I'll be flipping through bargain bins or whatever, and if I see a number 1 from that Justice League run, whoop, I get it. I don't care how many I have of that. I can't pass it up.
I speaking of buying books, by the way, I did fall for another Comixology sale. As right now, every single thing on Marvel, other than very recent books, is 50% off for Marvel 50. Right now, I went ahead and bought the 3rd volume of Jason Aaron's Avengers, Immortal Hulk Volume 3, and War of the Realms. And DC's also having a sale, so I went ahead and picked up, just to see what it's like, the new Batman Beyond Rebirth series that Jurgens has been working on, to see what that's like. And the first 3 issues of Deceased I now all have digitally, and I think I spent for all that stuff $24.
Nice.
Yep. So Comixology strikes again with the sales, and yet again I'm the sucker. So what comic reading have we been doing?
Less than I would like to. I read a couple issues of Justice League and Batman that I'm trying to get caught up on. It's around, let's see, the Justice League stuff is around issues 15 and 16, and Batman's in the early 70s, maybe late 60s. Yeah, I'm a few issues behind on that.
Yeah, I'm way more behind than you are, sir. I still got to catch myself up.
I wanted to talk about a one-shot that I was very excited about when it was shown in previews some months back, Captain America and the Invaders, entitled Bahamas Triangle. What's important here is the creative team. The writer is Roy Thomas. The artist is Jerry Ordway.
Nice.
And I've been jonesing for a Roy Thomas scripted new piece of work for quite some time, because he's always one of my all-time favorite comic book scribes. I know everybody likes Jerry Ordway, and if you love like what Jerry Ordway did on his Power of Shazam book and like that golden age feel he got for Fawcett City and so forth, you were going to salivate over this issue because it is deeply steeped in the golden age era, but it's Roy Thomas scripting, so it's not goofy. It's a well thought out adventure story. It also involves Jim Hammond, the Human Torch, Baron Zemo. So it really goes into it sort of combines Cap's actual Gold Age history with sort of the retroactive Gold Age stuff they added in when they had him thought out in the Silver Age. And Ordway's art, he inks it as well, is just breathtaking. And he captures FDRs in it, like, and just the attention to detail when it comes to uniforms, like the German U-boat crew. I'm not going to spoil the story, but if you love Captain America, if you love his World War II adventures, no one is better qualified to tell stories like that than Roy Thomas and Jerry Ordway. So it's a $5 one shot worth every penny. And I don't say that for a lot of $5 comics.
Right.
And there's also a great moment where it's not in your face, but it's obvious. There's obviously a moment where Cap is actually talking to Jack Kirby.
Oh wow,
which is wonderful.
Wow,
it's strongly implied. You'll understand when you read it. But Roy Thomas still has the goods, and it's the type
awesome.
It's the type of story that his style is so well suited to, and he still tells it so well.
All the more reason to look forward to that Savage Sword of Conan issue coming up with his writing and Alan Davis's art.
And Murd, magnificent segue, because when I did my order for DCB service yesterday, and that was one of the first books I included. So the other book I have in my hand, I think Ian, I think you've read this as well, is Marvel's Epilogue.
No, I haven't read the epilogue, unfortunately, but I'm looking to pick it up at some point. I'm still deciding whether or not I'm going to pick it up digitally or wait for the unlimited on that one. But please go right ahead and tell me all about it.
Yeah, well, I won't spoil too much, but I'm sure many listeners know Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross, the legendary team who did the Marvel's miniseries. Was it 1995?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think so.
94, I think. This year is the 25th anniversary.
That's right. All right. Thank you, Murd.
There we
94.
go.
That makes sense. So they reunited to tell an epilogue story, and it's short because the rest of the book has some fantastic interviews with the creative team, and the whole package is worth it. Basically, they give a sort of a Marvel's take on the events of X-Men 96, I think. Ian, could you check me on that, please?
Yeah, sure can.
Or is it 98? I'm brain farting here. It's the one where they go to the Times Square to Rockefeller Center on Christmas and the Sentinels attack.
Yeah, I'm looking that up right now. But keep talking. I'll figure it out.
This story, first of all, I haven't seen any new Alex Ross art in a comic book in a while. I mean, he's done covers and different things, but this is the first time in a long time at least me myself, has read a sequential story he's done. My God, there's just nobody like him. I mean, he basically goes into he and Busiek go into the story. And this is tried and true of the Marvel's format. They just give you a different perspective from the street on what's happening in this battle between the X-Men and the Sentinels. And what's wonderful about it is the X-Men in some cases are so kind of removed from what you're seeing, because like you're the person on the street, and Cyclops is way up there hanging by his fingernails from a tower as the Sentinels are attacking, and it's as if you're there just like a regular Joe Schmo watching these godlike beings duke it out with these monstrous killing machines. And there's so many great Easter egg moments, anecdotal moments, and the attention to detail. Everything goes right back to the Claremont Cockrum story, the clothing, the expressions. But again, it's that Alex Ross take on it. And of course, the photographer Phil, who is the protagonist of Marvel's, he's narrating this story as well. He happens to be there with his grown daughters. I don't get excited for a lot of superhero comics these days. This story, I got up and I walked around just giddy after reading it, because it's one of those books that you need sometimes, like as a rejuvenating shot in the arm, to remind myself of why I love the superhero medium so much. And there's also a 2-page spread. I can't imagine how much this original art is worth, where Phil is remembering living through all the eras of the Marvel Comics history.
Oh,
and they have like iconic scenes, including a Kirby era Atlas monster from all these. It's simply breathtaking. Who went with me to the Alex Ross exhibit in Pittsburgh? I know Deemer was there, Jamie D.
I was not there.
Mert, were you there?
I was not there either.
Okay. That was. Did you go to that, Ian? Did you see that exhibit anywhere?
No, I didn't. I saw
Okay.
I saw a Jack Kirby exhibit at one point in New Jersey, but I never did get to make it to the Alex Ross one.
Yeah, it was in the Andy Warhol Museum. God, to see, like they had artwork he did as a kid, and you could already see how talented he was as a little boy, basically, like figures he made out of paper and stuff like that. And then when you actually see the paintings, because they're paintings, right, of these covers in frames up close, our mouths, we've just agog the entire exhibit.
It's X-Men number 98, by the way.
98. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the cover has Jean Grey in that famous evening gown she was wearing. This is the story that leads up to her getting stuck in the shuttle and becoming the Phoenix. This is the events leading up to that.
Very cool.
So, but yeah, if you love the original Marvel's miniseries, or you just love Marvel history, get Marvel's epilogue. Another $4.99 book that's worth it.
I'm really glad that Marvel is actually like embracing a lot of its past at this point and reflecting upon it in new and interesting ways. Like either adding epilogues to books that have long since passed, or just reflecting upon its history as it reaches a milestone like 1,000 issues. That's a good way to do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mert. I'm sorry.
I was just going to point out it is an anniversary year, so it's the right time.
Yep, definitely.
And furthermore, as someone who loves and teaches history, Marvel has such a rich history, and I always appreciate when the company, in ways such as this, takes the time to remind people of that and to celebrate it, especially when they do it so beautifully like this. And like the exhibit we were just slobbering about before, again, the same mindset. And I think it's doubly important now because, and Shay and I were talking about this when we were at the exhibit, a lot of the people who came to the exhibit probably have never read or rarely ever read Marvel comic books. But the exhibit and books like this remind everybody, this is where the movies come from, folks. Like, without this stuff, there are no movies.
Yeah.
Like, the magic is here in these pages. And when you have creators of the caliber of Busiek and Ross, they realize every nook and cranny of that magic. So, beautiful stuff.
Yep. And hey, speaking of Marvel history, history of the Marvel Universe.
Oh, God.
I'm only about halfway through it because I only purchased it today and started reading it about an hour before recording here, and it is not a book you can read very quickly.
So you haven't gotten to the annotations yet.
No, I have not, sir. I'm literally halfway through. I'm on page 17 of the book right now, and at that point, they start going into the Arthur Pendragon stuff.
Yep.
and move on from there with a little bit more of the Celestials and their interference and what have you.
I'm sorry, one moment, please.
Sure.
The Celestials. Go ahead. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. And from what I've read so far, and I mean, you guys can touch more on it for those of you who have read it more intensely. God, this is a book made for Mark Waid.
Oh.
Like
Another
nobody
Mark
could do this.
Grunwald would have been proud of it too.
Yes.
And himself has acknowledged Grunwald is one of the few fans who have ever lived who is able to instantly, gun him down in a head-to-head trivia contest.
Yeah, well, it's an experience, and the art is so classic by Javier Rodriguez. It just completely captures that Marvel feel and style beautifully, and I'm enraptured with what's before me. It's so much fun.
I'm sorry, and continue. I apologize.
No, that was just about what I was going to say. So go right ahead.
Because I gushed about this a little bit last time, but I don't think I mentioned the annotations, which are so extensive. And I mean that in the best possible way. I mean, the love and time that went into this production. And again, made as a master scribe. So isn't it? It's very readable, isn't it, Ian? I mean,
yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, they spend just the right amount of time telling the story, and it reads sort of like a children's storybook in that aspect. You know, like
and
you
the
feel like
art
you're getting
style lends itself to that
so
vibe
much
as well.
So much, yeah.
Yeah, but again, if you're interested in Marvel history, don't be put off by the density of it, because Wade and Rodriguez do a wonderful job of getting down to the essentials in terms of key moments, key eras, key figures, and how they all interact and interweave. It's a master class. I mean, I cannot, and we've been talking about this off the air. When this comes out in a hardcover, I will not hesitate to order it, to have it in between two covers.
And looking at the annotations, it actually reminds me a little bit of the annotations that were in the back of Avengers Forever when that came out.
Oh wow!
And how they would give you the in-depth version of some of the characters that you may have just seen, because there was had they had filled it with orange text boxes saying "See Avengers" blah 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 blah, it would have been nothing but text boxes. There wouldn't have been any room for any art. Annotations is the way to do this, definitely.
And we did a 2-part book of the month on Avengers Forever. And Murd was invaluable, especially in those recordings, his knowledge.
Yep.
But that's Busick again.
Yep.
So
yeah, the Avengers Forever book of the month was episodes 1473 and then 1483.
Clutch again. By the way, speaking of Arthur Pendragon, just to jump over to multimedia for a minute, if I may, Pants gave me a tantalizing bit of information. You probably know this, Ian, because you always have your finger on the pulse, about who's going to play the Black Knight.
I just heard, yes. And it will be reuniting the Stark brothers in the same movie.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, because Kit Harington will be playing the Black Knight, and the name's escaping me. The man who played Robb Stark is playing one of the Eternals.
Oh, okay, yeah. He was actually, I think he was being considered for James Bond too, that actor.
Yes. At one point, yeah. What's his name? God, I'm blanking on it like nobody's business right now. But anyway, yeah. Both of those actors are going to be in the same movie. Richard Madden.
Well,
there we go.
There you go. I'm just excited that we're going to get a version of the Black Knight on the screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, my first question is, which version of the Black Knight?
Good point, Murd. Yep.
The Arthurian original, Sir Percy of Scandia? Is it going to be the criminal Nathan Garrett, or is it going to be Dane Whitman of the Avengers?
I believe they've said Dane Whitman, but that may have just been people assuming it's Dane Whitman. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Well, having just finished Game of Thrones this summer, I was such a huge fan of Kit Harington's performance in that show, and he is ideally suited to play the Black Knight. I think he made a joke about how he's basically going to be playing the same role again that he just played on Game of Thrones. I can't wait to see how they visualize the character, because the Black Knight, I've always loved his look.
Yeah.
And the ebony blade and the helmet and the whole 9 yards. So I'm really interested. And plus, how they're going to work him into the Eternals.
Yep.
That should be interesting.
Well, one way they may do it is they did, because when we first discussed the Eternals movie, I'm like, where's Cersei? Like, they didn't mention her. They confirmed that Gemma Chan is going to play Cersei.
And they were lovers in the comic for a period of time.
Exactly. So I think that may be where they're going with that. And also Barry Coogan is going to be playing Druig. That was the other announcement out of the Eternals movie that came out during D23. So those were the two other big casting news there.
Wait, he's playing who? What's the name?
Druig, I believe his name is Druig.
Do you know what that is, Murd?
I've certainly seen the name, but I can't call up any information about the character itself.
Yeah.
For a minute, I thought you misspoke and you meant Dr. Druid.
Oh, no, no, definitely not. He's, let's see, he first appeared in Eternals number 11 on May 1977, a Kirby creation. And let's see, he's the son of Valken and cousin to Icarus. So he served as an agent of the KGB in Russia for a while.
Okay.
Yep. And that's his bag. And then I think he showed up again during Neil Gaiman's Eternals run.
And when is that movie coming out?
I think that is 2021, if memory serves.
Okay.
Yep. The other big announcements that came out of D23 that I'll touch on real quick, since we're mentioning Kit Harington, they announced some more Disney Plus shows. Which by the way,
did they ever?
Yes, they sure as hell did. You have until September 2nd to sign up for a free D23 account to get 3 years of Disney Plus prepaid for what comes out to about $6 a month or something like that.
A little bit less. I think it's $4.37 a month.
Yep.
Thanks for telling me that. I had no idea.
Yeah, so
I'm going to do that as soon as we get off.
I did it yesterday. Yep. It's like $140 some odd for 3 years. It's completely worth it, and then you don't have to worry about re-upping for 3 years straight. So that's going to be worth it there. But they announced a Ms. Marvel Kamala Khan series, live action, a She-Hulk series. No information on who's going to be in any of these yet. Just that they're happening, and I'm giving Kevin a moment to scream wherever he is, and he's listening to this. Moon Knight.
Yes.
Oh boy.
I'm interested to see how they're going to interpret Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Because the more recent interpretation of Moon Knight is that he's got all these personality issues and he's unstable, and I like more the classic Moon Knight of the late Bronze and the Copper period. I wonder if they have Frenchie in it. But and Moon Knight has a great costume. I'm interested to see how they interpret that.
Well, that's an important question, though. Do you think he'll be gray or white?
Oh.
Or silver.
Or silver.
I was thinking silver or white. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got a whole bunch of different versions of Moon Knight out there and personalities to choose from. So
yes,
we'll figure it all out when the time comes. But
these shows are not coming out for a couple of years,
something like that. And the other big announcement was a Disney animated series that's coming to Disney Channel. They're actually doing a Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur animated series. Yep.
I also like the Star Wars announcement of who's going to reprise a role in a new TV series on Disney Plus too.
Oh yeah, baby!
For Ewan McGregor to play Obi-Wan.
Oh, that's right, Ryan. Now that's a no-brainer. I'm like, I was wondering when they were going to get to that because
I was hoping that was going to happen.
There's so many stories they could tell there.
And he's Alec Guinness's age right now when he started playing the character. So
get out!
Yeah, like he's if not a year or two apart. Like,
wait, how old is Ewan McGregor now?
Ewan McGregor. Let me take a look at it right now.
I think Alec Guinness was older.
Well, I think when he started Star Wars,
I know Luke Skywalker is about that same age. Like Mark Hamill's about that age, but
Ewan McGregor is 48.
Close.
Ewan McGregor is 48 years old right now. So
Alec Guinness is definitely older than 48 in 1977.
All right, all right. Then I misspoken. Let's see. He was born in 1914. So yeah, you're right. I guess my friends were just saying, well, he's about his age, but I guess clearly they're off by 20 years. So go figure. Yeah, he died in 2000 at the age of 86. So yeah, a little bit older.
So he's going to play. The idea is to have a television series, television movies. What
series? It's a TV series.
Because when I think about the great stories Jason Aaron has told in his early work on Star Wars, where he did like a series of Obi-Wan solo issues interspersed with the larger arcs he was telling. Yeah, all those were wonderful, and it just so whetted my appetite. Because for me, Ewan McGregor is one of the few aspects of the
prequels
that I really enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'm so glad it's another chance to interpret that character.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, did I read where the Marvel Star Wars main series is going to end with 75 for now?
I didn't read that, but it also wouldn't surprise me. Let me see if I can find some news on that.
Well, the latest issue I have here in my pile is 69.
Okay.
Yep, 5 hours ago. That broke today, actually. Marvel will stop making Star Wars comics after number 75 this November.
Huh.
Yep.
The series has been consistently superb.
Yeah.
I mean, I've enjoyed every issue of the flagship title.
Yeah. They're going to restart it with the number one. I almost guarantee
I'm sure.
you. Yeah. Like that's the way this rolls. Like they've been doing it for 75 issues. There'll be a new number one right around the time of the new movie, and all will be well after that.
Even if it's after the new movie, it'll feature something other than the original cast.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be Rise of Skywalker, or it'll be filling some other gaps that we haven't seen filled yet.
Well, I look forward to a compendium of all 75 issues, which I'll happily purchase for my library, because I shrunk my order quite a bit over the recent months just to save money, and I'm just doing more stuff online. But Star Wars is still a book I'm getting in floppy format because I enjoy it that much.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's talk about the multimedia elephant in the room, which is Spider-Man.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Waiting for us to get to this one.
Yeah.
what a mess.
Now, I was going to say this because, in a way, I felt this decision may satisfy some concerns you had, Shane, about the creative direction of the character on film. Because weren't you talking about he was too much in Tony's shadow?
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
And that takes care of that problem.
I don't want him removed from the rest of the Marvel universe. Yeah. I just want some more Spider-Man centric things to happen.
Yeah.
This is far from over, guys. I mean,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you have to think that all the movies and all the things that were announced, that takes up the next few years of anything. So even if Sony produces a Spider-Man movie, which it's fully capable of doing, anything with the MCU, that Spider-Man's not planned in the MCU anytime soon anyway.
Right.
From just the looks of what was announced in the last few months.
Yeah. Well, there's a website that got launched called isspidermanbackinthemcuyet.com that you can check to see whether or not there's any new information on it at this point. Also, people have suggested that there should be a scene in the next Deadpool movie where Tom Holland is sitting on a couch and Sam Jackson walks by and saying, "That's where you've been all this time," and then you see Tobey Maguire walk in the background making eggs, and then Andrew Garfield come out of the bathroom.
Well, and I like also that all these little memes came up saying now MCU needs a Night Monkey movie.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Holland has said that he's still involved. The director is not attached yet for the third movie. They could probably pull it off and just, not mention the MCU, but at the same time, Sony's making it sound like, at least on their end, that no, Kevin Feige's just not producing this one, but he was just so busy with everything else that he's working on when the original article stated the reason why these talks fell apart is that Disney tried to get a 50-50 stake and Sony said, get the hell out. Which, frankly, if I was Sony, I would have said the same damn thing. This movie just made $1 billion, and Disney's trying to make a 50-50 stake when before they only made 10% off of the final gross. So that's kind of a big deal. And I think that they're overconfident after the success of Into the Spider-Verse and the financial success, if not critical success, of Venom. And I think that Sony thinks they've got this, but I also think that one of the reasons why Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse made as much money as it did, and why this movie made as much money as it did is because Spider-Man was relevant again.
That's what I thought too. It
Yeah.
was part of the MCU, and it made it relevant.
Exactly.
I do think that they could pull off one movie. I don't know about beyond that.
Yeah.
Well, my thinking was that, I'm going to piggyback here on your point, Shane, is that the way they ended the last film, the next Spider-Man film could easily be great and have nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
Yo, yeah,
Because they've
yeah.
established now he's really on his own. He's cut ties where like the the tie to Tony in a sense, that security blanket, and he's got MJ and J. Jonah's appeared, and I'm sure they make a damn good movie.
Sure.
But I think you guys also make a very valid point, which is people are really excited about Spider-Man. In part, I think Tom Holland is wonderful in the role, and also, of course, because he's integrated back into those characters. Because, look, I read a poll once years ago. I think one of the most recognized popular culture characters on Earth is Spider-Man, besides like Superman and Mickey Mouse and a couple others. So when I went to see Endgame, for example, when he appeared on the screen, like in that climactic battle, people were cheering and hollering and hooting.
Yep.
In the theater, because it's Spider-Man. He is the most iconic of all of the Marvel characters and one of the most iconic superheroes in popular culture, period. So, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if down the road he's reintegrated yet again.
Oh, totally.
Into all of this.
I mean, and like you're saying, Chris, like they could easily tell the story they were going to tell and just do their best not to mention MCU stuff and just not have Happy be in it. And go forward. But if Sony thinks for a minute that they are going to reboot this character again with Tom Holland still in the role and just be ho-hum, hey, it's Spider-Man, he's back, guys, it's over. That's it. Pack it in. Like, we cannot take another reboot at this point. Like, I mean, to be on a fourth would just be ridiculous. Even if you make it a Miles Morales live action movie at this point, I don't see the franchise, surviving.
It's when you think about it, these four versions have been in such a short period of time, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What was the first Spider-Man was 2002, I believe. So less than 20 years.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, at least when you made different Batmen, like there was at least a decent amount of time between Bale and the Schumacher stuff. But I mean, yes, there was way less time between Bale and Batfleck. But that was a whole other scenario. So I don't know. we have time yet. It's not even on the slate. The next movie. So there's plenty of time for them to make nice, and even if Feige isn't involved, maybe they can still at least have him play in the sandbox in one way or another. Yeah. But he better not show up in Venom 2.
These are fun problems to cogitate over.
Yeah,
sure.
So, yep. But if this is all just so he can show up in a Venom movie, then I throw up my hands.
I've never seen that movie. Now, has anybody seen this film?
Yes,
I have it. I got it when it was on sale at Christmas time. I have not sat down to watch it yet.
Yet I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember you guys talked about it on another episode, so I'm being a little redundant here. But I seem to recall you both saying that it was kind of what you expected, and you didn't mean that as a compliment. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. The way I put it in that episode, I'll just say again here real quick. It's a very decent 2003 superhero movie.
That's what you said. Okay. That was pitch perfect.
Yeah.
Now I know exactly what you mean. Okay.
Ian speaks well here. It's on a par with the Affleck Daredevil movie.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh boy.
If you just look at it as a B-picture horror movie without all the R-rated gore that it probably should have had, then it turns out just fine.
Yeah.
I'm a big Tom Hardy fan.
Yeah, well, plenty of him acting eccentric.
He can't quite get his accent down, though. That's the problem. It's all over the place. Like, he's supposed to be from New York, but like he can't quite focus on which American accent he's going for.
Well, and I'll be honest, I'm less of a Tom Hardy fan since Bane.
Whatever do you mean, Shane?
Not my favorite role of his at all.
See, I differ because I loved him in that role. I don't know. I just took to it.
Bane itself is not ever, not since his first iteration, has ever been my favorite character.
They've done Bane right animated a couple times. The character of Bane has showed up well in Young Justice and showed up in Batman the Animated Series. But
I'll give you that's not too bad. But even the comics, just not my favorite bad villain at all.
Yep.
And when they did the movie, I was like, okay, sure. Both versions, both the Poison Ivy, Water Bane, and this iteration, just not my favorite character.
Yeah, it's a character that I think a lot of Bat fans at the time kind of shared your opinion, your reaction to him, Shane. That he was not really taken seriously by a lot of folks. When he first appeared in Batman the Animated Series in the early 90s, they were basically making fun of him, treating him as a crazy Mexican wrestler, which is really not the heart of the character at all.
No.
It's really only recently that people who were, kind of like Matt's and my age, who were just, young enough to be wowed by Bane and to take him seriously as a threat in addition to Batman's rogues gallery, they're just now entering the media marketplace, and they're starting to create entertainment media, and so now we're starting to see Bane kind of getting his second wind in non-comics projects. And even in comics, and we've got Tom King using Bane as the centerpiece of a big ongoing storyline in his not quite 100-issue Batman run. So
and I have to say, even when I was reading, as much as I love what Tom does with all the Batman books, I flipped that and I'm like, I rolled my eyes and went, oh, Bane, okay, just it's good. What Tom's doing is great, but Bane, I just shrug.
It also started a whole trend of Tom Hardy playing characters with muffled voices, like now whenever he shows up in a Christopher Nolan movie, I expect to hear him something along these lines.
I read it because he plays one of the British RAF pilots in Dunkirk, and he has his breathing apparatus on to the very last scene.
Sure.
And I read anywhere Nolan joked that I can put Hardy. I'm paraphrasing. I can put Hardy in any mask, and I know he can still act.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the character he's playing doesn't matter. What matters is his plan.
and hey, seeing that movie in IMAX was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Dunkirk. It was just
wow, I envy that.
Beautiful movie to see in IMAX.
Well, it was masterfully done.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Batman, I just read just this past week issues 74 and 75, the latest I have of the epic Bane story, and I really like what Tom's doing. He's doing some very interesting things without spoiling with the Thomas Wayne from that Flashpoint reality, which is really twisted actually, and he's reintroduced Catwoman. And I got the first inkling of, okay, I think the plan he's always had in motion here with this wedding is now going to start to
come together,
be revealed. So I'm really enjoying where he's taking the character. Again, it's heady stuff. It's not like light superhero reading. And he's really exploring sort of the psyche of Bruce Wayne and of Bruce Wayne's family, like the interpersonal dynamics between him and his father and his mother. And it's again, this is his run. I want to read the whole thing in one shot when it's done, because I think I'm going to get even more out of it when I do that. And then, of course, he's going to do that mini series we talked about as well.
Yeah.
So, Ian, you mentioned it before. Is Young Justice still holding up for you?
Yeah, it is actually. They've gone in some interesting directions. I mean, even some stuff that in a way happens off screen is very emotional. One of the plot points that winds up changing the character of Jay Garrick on the show is, and this is only a slight spoiler because it doesn't really play too much into the plot, but Joan dies, and it's almost done in a way that like it's just stuff happening behind the scenes. You see a whole bunch of characters as other events are occurring, and you see Jay, in a hospital room with his wife, and then in a later episode, he's being very protective over Bart. Because
he sure is.
Yeah, because he's become the guardian of Bart, and now he's the solo guardian without a wife. And I think that was actually very touching and emotional the way that they played that. But the main plot line has been bringing Beast Boy's team to the limelight and to the front and center, as he is leading a team of outsiders to sort of be a in plain sight version of the team, while the rest of the Young Justice team remains covert. And they're basically trying to get Darkseid's people out of hiding and sort of reveal some of the plots that they're trying to deliver onto the unsuspecting public.
Forgive me, you talking about the animated show or the comic?
The animated show. Sorry, you mentioned Young Justice, and that's where my mind went.
I'm happy to learn about both, because is the comic still holding up water as well for you?
Yes, it is 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's good.
Yep. We got another issue coming out in September, because this was an off month, so still where we left off, but they're still doing their interdimensional arc in the comic book, but. A whole lot of good Young Justice to be had all around, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yep. Very,
Excellent.
very cool. Yep. And I actually have an email I want to read for you guys real quick.
Please.
If you don't mind.
Didn't fool me this time, Levinstein.
Damn it!
I was fooled, I must admit.
I was too. I was like, oh, okay, an email.
I'm the one who sent the email, so...
I didn't say
Run
who
of the
it
mill
was
email.
from. It could have been from anybody. I could have gotten another email. Nah, I got one from you, Murd. Yeah, it's that time once again for Muddle the Murd, where we go through our trivia portion of our proceedings. And Murd, tell them all about it.
All right. So our Muddle the Murd trivia contest gives you, the listeners, the opportunity to muddle me, the Murd, with your submission of 3 comic book trivia questions. Now, a proper Muddle the Murd submission package should consist of 1 Marvel Comics question, 1 DC Comics question, and 1 question about comics from some third publisher. And they should also break down chronologically as 1 question about comics from before the year 1970, 1 question about comics published sometime between 1970 and 2000 inclusive, and 1 question about comics post-2000. So you could have a Marvel Comics question from 2009, a DC Comics question from 1972, and like a Charlton Comics question from 1966. That's just an example. So if you submit these questions and they're read to me on the air and I cannot answer a single one of them correctly, if I get all 3 of them wrong, you will have successfully muddled the Murd and you will be entitled to a prize, which I will mail to you at my own expense.
Excellent. And what is that prize at the moment?
So glad you asked, Ian. We're still going through a packet of artwork from our anonymous donor. And this time I've decided the prize is going to be a page of published original artwork. It's a James Stocco page of Godzilla art from the IDW publication Godzilla: The Half-Century War, issue number 1, page 18. It does have kind of a nightmarish dream image of Godzilla at the lower half of the page, and it comes with a certificate of authenticity from our friends at Cadence Comics Art once this page was apparently purchased. So that will go to the winner of the next round of Muddle the Murd that I failed to defend.
Excellent. And this week's Muddle the Murd entry comes from the Atch Attack himself, Michael Atchison.
Mike.
And here's what he has to say. Hello, CGS crew. I have sure been enjoying the revival of the introducing episodes and the addition of Ian as a full-fledged cast member. Well, shucks, Mike. I thought I'd put a different spin on the Muddle the Murd questions by adopting the Jeopardy format, but feel free to modify the trivia questions to the traditional format if you like. So which way you want to do this? You want to Jeopardy
I'm all in favor of phrasing my answers in the form of a question.
Excellent. Okay, we will begin with DC pre-1970, and I wish I had the Jeopardy theme queued up. Good. DC pre-1970. This Golden Age hero was born on the 7th day of the 7th month in a year ending in a 7 on the 7th day of the week.
All right. Say you, who is Johnny Thunder?
You are correct, sir.
Oh,
Seventh son of a seventh son.
Saturday.
He's the one. He's the one they call the seventh son.
Saturday, July 7th, 1917.
17.
that was like watching a surgeon work. Oh, jeez.
And we move on to Marvel, 1970 to 2000. Thor number 207 by Jerry Conway and John Buscema concluded an unofficial cross-company storyline featuring a Halloween parade in this Vermont town depicting characters from the other company.
Okay, I don't think I grasped what he's looking for. The name of the town, is that it?
Yes, I believe he should have said this town. But yes, that's what he's looking for.
All right, I might not get the name entirely. It's in Vermont, I know that. Milford, Vermont?
Nope. Chris, which one?
The legendary series of Rutland, Vermont Halloween stories.
You are correct, sir.
All right, so I'm not going to ace this one.
And, okay, since technically the preceding question blurs the line between DC Marvel categories, the following is provided as an alternate if you'd like to use it instead, but I think that was enough Marvel for good enough. It was Thor number 207, but I'll ask you the question anyway, since you already won.
All right.
Robert Farrell is the real name of this Bronze Age villain whose mode of transportation is a superpowered skateboard.
You had me at Robert Farrell, who is Rocket Racer.
You are correct, sir.
He was later a member of Silver Sable's Wild Pack.
And let's
the
not
Outlaws,
forget
I should say.
another classic late 70s Marvel moment. Also the character the Big Wheel appeared in those early stories.
I have not forgotten that, Chris. It's hard not to think of Rocket Racer and Big Wheel in the same moment. I think his real name was Jackson Wheel, I think.
Oh, God.
I just remember a guy in a helmet riding in a big matchbox wheel through Manhattan streets. It's great, goofy late Bronze Age.
And we got one more here, The Independent, post-2000. In 2014, this Asian-American author revived the Golden Age hero, the Green Turtle, in the Shadow Hero trade paperback.
Who is Jean Wen Yang?
Correcto.
Yeah.
Yep, I've read the Shadow Hero. It was quite good.
Nice.
Yep. And Mike, thank you for playing this game. I get the feeling you were going easy on me. I think you must have known that the Johnny Thunder question was right down Main Street over the plate. But I wouldn't have minded being muddled by you today, Mike, because I'm looking across the room and I am seeing those gifts that you so generously sent to me and to the rest of us.
Oh, yes.
My Skeletor print and my Super President poster. And they're clearly in my line of sight across the room, and I'm still basking in the glow of your generosity, Mike. So thank you for playing our game, and thanks for giving us a good time here in this section of our episode tonight.
Hear, hear.
Amen to that.
Agreed.
Yep. So I want to mention at least one more thing that I read. I won't get too far into it because I'm sure we're going to touch on it in depth at a later time. But I did read the final issue of Spider-Man Life Story tonight.
Oh, I don't have it yet.
I know. and I know we're going to touch on it way more at some point on the show, but it ends just about the way I wanted it to, and continues the decade theme in a beautiful, beautiful way.
And I'm bouncing up and down in my seat. I should be getting my shipment, I would imagine, within the next week. Damn.
Yep.
I envy you, sir.
Brilliantly done. Brilliantly executed across the board by both Zdarsky and Bagley.
Yep. And I ordered the trade paperback of that when it was solicited in July.
Nice.
Yep. That's going to be a book of the month for sure down the road.
Hell yeah. Yep.
So,
Murd, you reading anything?
Actually, yes. This is something I've been meaning to bring up for quite a while now, because somehow I managed to miss it in the preview solicitation several months ago, and I've been kicking myself ever since for not mentioning it at that time, so I'm going to mention it now. It's a publication from our friends at Action Lab, and created by our even better friend, writer and cartoonist Fred Chow.
Ah, terrific.
Fred Chow, gonna eat you, gonna eat you, gonna eat you.
Exactly how he'd say it too, Ian, because he's quite the hip-hop fan. But yeah, Fred Chow, we love him. He's a wild and crazy guy. He's been a Super Show guest a few times. He's living out on the West Coast these days. He's a New York boy at heart. And this comic of his, it's a one-shot called This Love So Brief, Short Stories by Fred Chow. And on the cover, he's standing on what appears to be a rock in the middle of the Hudson River with one of the many bridges in the background. There's art supplies and prescription medicines spilling all around in the background. There's a boombox at his feet. He's holding a coffee in one hand, and he's embracing an obviously symbolic romantic partner with the other. She's Ariel, the Little Mermaid, from the waist up, and Ursula, the Sea Witch, from the waist down. And this comic, it's extremely poignant. It's funny, too, but it's a collection of 4 short stories, all of them autobiographical reminiscences of Fred about, well, his checkered love life. Some of them funnier than others, some of them more painful than others. And the last of the 4 is, it's basically an epilogue to Fred's, recent misadventures and his career in comics, because he thinks the last comic he's going to produce for quite some time.
Wow.
As he reveals in that last story, he's been having some health problems, and he's been having his misgivings about neglecting other forms of art he could be trying. He's just getting a little discouraged in a number of different ways. So, but it ends on something of a hopeful note. He's still out there. He's still doing stuff artistically. He's got a healthy relationship. But yeah, you'll laugh, you'll cry. It's if you're a fan of Craig Thompson's Blankets, that kind of achingly poignant, sensitive, and vulnerable autobiographical confession. It's that kind of comic, only shorter and funnier.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah,
all the testimonial I needed.
Yeah,
yeah. I think I missed that in the solicitations too.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you're a fan of hip-hop, as I mentioned, it actually opens with Fred's love of things like A Tribe Called Quest and the Digital Underground.
Give the name of the comic one more time, Murd.
This Love So Brief.
Got it.
Short stories by Fred Chow.
Excellent.
So
Okay,
hopefully
great.
It's still available at better comic outlets near you.
Yeah. If not, then chances are there's probably a Comixology version of it out there, because I'd love to catch up with Fred in one way or another. I used to love running into him at the Mocha Fest back in the day, and I've interviewed him a couple times for Comic Timing, and glad to hear that it ends on a high note, because I missed getting to hang out with him the short time he was in New York a couple months ago. So, yeah, good times.
He misses the neighborhood.
Yes, he do. Chris, did you want to touch on House of X or Powers of 10 at all this episode, or you want to wait for that to all be said and done?
Let's wait, because I think we're near the end of our bolt, and I want to devote more time to that.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Then in that case, I'll just touch on The Boys a little bit.
Splendid.
All right. Watched all 10, I believe it was 10 episodes on Amazon Prime over the last week. This is the Amazon Prime series based on the Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson comic that came out for a long time out of Dynamite. And it's similar to the comic, but also has some unique differences. For one thing, Simon Pegg was way too old to play the main character, so he plays the father. So they have him come in as Wee Huey's father in about 3 or 4 episodes of the show, which was a nice touch. But overall, I was really impressed with the show. It's gory as hell. So
as it should be.
As it should be. And the superheroes are some of the super quote-unquote heroes I've ever seen on TV. They're assholes. They really are. And these guys are not very nice. Homelander...
Well, that's in keeping with the spirit of the book, which I loved.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Homelander is played by Anthony Starr, who is a New Zealand actor, I believe, who's making his, I think his debut in the States. If not, he's done a couple other things. He's putting on an American accent and doing a good job of it. And, of course, Carl Urban plays...
Perfect.
...is beautiful as the Butcher.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, and there's some other big surprises in this, casting-wise, one of which, the guy that got to play Mento was so on the money that I honestly don't want to give it away for anybody who's watching the show. He's a character who shows up in 2 or 3 episodes. When you get to it, you're going to laugh hysterically because Mento is a child star who was in a Doogie Howser-esque show about a mental, basically a mentalist with psychic abilities who was able to solve crimes like Law and Order style. And the guy they got to play him, all grown up, could not have been a better choice if they tried.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yep.
I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I apologize. I have to run, but allow me to abscond, and I'll talk to you all very soon.
All right. Sounds good to
Good
me,
night,
sir.
gentlemen. Good night.
Have a good night. Yep. But either of you read any of the boys at any point?
I'm sure I picked up an issue and read it way back when, but I never read the whole series.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, not really my cup of tea, I don't think.
Yeah, it's Ennis out the wazoo. And the series is very much in the same vein. So I'm glad that they capture the spirit of that, but you really need to be into assholes and anger in order to actually really appreciate this show.
Yes, those are 2 things I do tend to avoid if I can.
Fair enough. Yep.
Yeah, me too, but I'll probably give it a try at some point. I love Carl Urban in so many things.
Yep. Yeah, and he's great in this, and he gets to use his own accent, which is nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yep. All right. Anything else from either of you?
No, I'm good.
I think we've reached the end of the reel.
All right. Excellent. Then in that case, Shane, ready when you are.
Alrighty. Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com to send us an email. The address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com. Let us know what you think of all the topics we covered. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Thanks to everyone who contributes to the episodes and sends in Muddle the Murds. Keep the muddling coming. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.